Yeah, I felt that in my soul.
Hey y'all, my name is Nat. Hope you're having a terrific day today, and for this video we're going to be doing a anticipated releases reading vlog. Alright, so this is the first time I've done a video like this, but when I realized that two new books coming from two of my favorite authors were releasing on the same day, it was hard not to think of this video. So with that, yeah, this is gonna be a vlog. I have no idea what kind of vlog it's gonna be. Perhaps it may be a weekly style, perhaps it'll just be as I read these books. Not really sure. We'll figure it out as we go. So the two books I'm gonna be reading in this video are Happy Place by Emily Henry and In the Lives of Puppets by TJ Klune. Now, thus far, I've heard pretty much only positive things about Happy Place. I think Michelle actually even gave it like 3.5, which is high praise from Michelle for an Emily Henry book. And then In the Lives of Puppets, I'm a little more nervous about because I've heard some mixed things. With that being said though, most of the negatives I've heard don't seem like they would bug me too much. Namely, I've heard this is very similar in feels to both House in the Cerulean Sea and Under the Whispering Door. Honestly, that doesn't bug me. I don't mind that. Not to mention the fact when I went to that author event, him discussing his inspiration for this book just got me really excited, and I'm still very excited even though I've heard kind of middle of the road reviews. Honestly, between these two, I think I'm gonna start with Happy Place just because I tend to blast through romance books pretty quickly, and I'm hoping that will happen here, especially since it's Emily Henry and I love her stuff. Particularly because A, I just finished reading Crying in H Mart, which is a fairly sad book, and B, I think I have officially dug my way out of my fanfiction hole. I think it's happened. I think I have climbed my way out, but to be fair, I think it's because I burnt myself out, which is sort of impressive. So I'm hopeful that I will get so sucked into this, I won't have the urge to go check out more fanfiction because it's really killing my reading schedule. I don't know a lot about this book, but I obviously know that it's an Emily Henry, so it's gonna be kind of a romance plus. I believe we are following this couple who were engaged but broke up. However, they have not told any of their friends that they broke up, but their friend group is wanting to go on vacation and they decide rather than make things awkward, they're just gonna continue acting as though they are still engaged and, of course, gonna fall back in love. This is a fake fiance scenario, which not my favorite, but it's also second chance, and I do enjoy second chance. Not to mention Emily Henry, so I have high hopes. This is also the book club read for my personal book club that I do with a few friends, and Allie has started into it. I think she said she's about 5 chapters in and loving it. That could either be a really good thing or a really bad thing for me, because sometimes we really agree on books, but other times we really disagree, so hopefully it's the former this time.
Hello, my loves. So I meant to update y'all sooner than now. I had a really unexpected Wednesday yesterday. For one, I got my hair done. So, you know, got a new fresh do. It's a little bit darker than normal because the dye is still brand new. But I had her actually do like full coverage, and so I'm all even again. However, on my way back from getting my hair done, I got in a car accident and just found out that my car got totaled. Yeah, I'm not having the greatest week, but I have worked a lot into Happy Place. I'm actually about halfway through. Emily Henry continues to be one of my favorite romance authors. I don't know what it is. Her writing just works really well for me, okay? And with this one specifically, the friendship themes are out of this world. I'm all over them, particularly because it's like this trio of best friends. Naturally, I can't help but think of myself with my friends Allie and Kat, particularly because these friends were roommates in college, and I lived with Catherine for 3 years, and Allie basically was our unofficial roommate our senior year. It's really hard not to envision us in this, and it's just making me miss them all the more. But we're not gonna get into that because otherwise I'm gonna start crying. I am really enjoying this in terms of the romance as well. We have our main character, Harriet. She's super focused on her job. She is definitely a people pleaser, but whenever it comes to Win, her ex, he just brings out the spontaneity in her. They have fantastic banter. The sexual tension in this is immaculate. It is so good. Definitely not my favorite hero. Win is fine. I don't feel super strongly about him. I'm trying not to hold that against this book too much just because I've really loved Charlie from Book Lovers and Gus from Beach Read, so I expect to love her heroes as well as her heroines, but this time around I don't really see that happening. I don't feel like I know him quite as well, but he alone is not selling me. Again though, the sexual tension, it's so good. It's so good, guys. Anytime these two are alone, you can tell there's just this non-stop electricity between them. And you can tell they both still have such strong feelings for each other, but neither of them want to own up to it. One thing I do love with this is that even though Win was the one to break off their engagement, you can tell he still cares so much about Harriet. He wants her to be happy. That's what he keeps asking. Like, you're happy, right? You're happy even with this. She's not happy. She misses him desperately. She still connects with his sister and with his mom. I love that. That's really cute, especially because I definitely can relate to that. If Josh and I were ever to break up, I would miss his mom a lot. Like I was saying before, the friendship element's incredibly strong. I love this little trio, and I love how it's expanded to include their significant others as well. Cleo's girlfriend Kemi, Sabrina's fiance Parth, and then Win, who obviously is Harriet's ex-fiance, but probably not ex for too much longer. They're just such a tight-knit little group, and I think on the whole, they have a wonderful dynamic between everyone. I have a theory that there may be a bit of a friendship breakup that takes place because there is a little bit of tension between Sabrina and Cleo. Not into that, not here for it, but I do expect Emily Henry to make me cry in some aspect that isn't the romance, and I think this time around it's gonna be because of that friendship. I've also been laughing a ton. Probably one of my absolute favorite moments that I can tell you without getting into spoilers was Harriet is reminiscing about their time when they were in college, and they made t-shirts for each other where one of them was like virgin who can't drive, one was virgin who can drive, and one was not a virgin but a great driver. And that is one of my all-time favorite things ever. I love it. It's still so funny to me. I think I would estimate this at above People You Meet on Vacation, but I'm not quite sure if it beats out Book Lovers yet. I definitely know it does not beat out Beach Read. Unless this takes a really fantastic turn in the latter half, it hasn't beat Beach Read yet, but I am still definitely enjoying it. I'm glad I'm reading this because it's giving me a little bit of serotonin, which I desperately need right now. Hey guys, so this update should have been filmed a good few days ago when I actually finished the book, but life's been crazy and I've been having to go car shopping. But anyway, I finished out Happy Place, and with this, I did like this. Emily Henry continues to never be a disappointment, but I do think my favorite element in this entire book was the friendship. The trio of women specifically. I mentioned it previously, but of course I couldn't help but insert myself and my best friends in that situation. The atmosphere work in this was also absolutely fantastic. I want to go on vacation in Maine. I felt like I was on the vacation with them, and the happy, glowy feelings that these people would have just being in each other's presence was so intoxicating, and again, really just made me miss my best friends. I loved that those three knew each other so well. They really understood each other. Their relationship just popped off the page. They were always there for each other, even when they were getting on one another's nerves. I actually found it very refreshing that the third act conflict in this is more focused on the friendship dynamic than it really is on the relationship. Across the board, the friendship, my absolute favorite part of the book, which is closely followed by the fantastic introspection Harriet experiences throughout the story. Harriet really struggles with her identity. She has put so much time, so much focus into being this perfect person to please everyone in her life, and she's finally realizing that is not enough for her to be happy. On one hand, I felt called out by that, but on the other hand, it also felt incredibly comforting because it was one of those situations where it's like, oh, I'm not alone in feeling that way. Also, the fact that my love language is acts of service definitely kind of lends into that. Yeah, I felt that in my soul. And that character work is another thing that I always enjoy with Emily Henry's books. She's able to take such deeply personal topics that in the grand scheme of things never seem that important, but they're important to you. She manages to create them and put them into words so beautifully in a way I myself probably could never do. Like I said, on one hand I felt like I was being attacked, but I felt so seen in that representation. That definitely became a lot more important at the end of this book, which was something that definitely kept me really engaged because, unfortunately, when it comes to the romance, it really wasn't the biggest selling point for me in this. I liked it. I thought Win and Harriet were very cute, fantastic sexual tension and banter like I talked about previously, but I just never was fully sold on Win. For a lot of this book, I actually would say he was probably the flattest character of this friend group. I do think that got better when they finally had a sit-down conversation about what happened to their relationship. Therein lies my issue with this. It does have the fake fiance thing, which on one hand wasn't super frustrating, but on the other hand did lean on miscommunication, which tends to go with fake dating or fake fiancé-ship, and that's something that always grinds my gears. Like, I can handle miscommunication to an extent. For majority of the book, I didn't mind it too much, but whenever they finally talk out their problems, I couldn't help but wonder, how were y'all together for so long and you didn't pick up on these things? How were y'all in a long distance relationship where really the only thing you can do is talk and you never talked about this stuff? I just was never completely sold on Win, so I wasn't really invested in his character, thus I was less invested in the relationship. And then the miscommunication thing, just at the end, it really got frustrating. I was just tired of it. So in the end, I did like this. I think for a rating, I'm gonna put it about 4 stars. In regards to my Emily Henry ranking, I think this is above People We Meet on Vacation because I liked the friendship and the character work more. It's definitely below Beach Read, and I think it's also below Book Lovers. I did have a lot of fun annotating this though, I will say that. It is really funny. I had so many marks for sexual tension and the friendship. There were even some really good quotes when we started focusing more on Harriet's identity struggles. A good book. I definitely can see other people loving this more than I did, but I could also see some people getting really frustrated with this. Now that I finished that, which, being completely honest, took longer than I was expecting, I will be jumping into In the Lives of Puppets by TJ Klune. As I understand, this is kind of like a Pinocchio retelling, except Pinocchio is a robot. This takes place after this robot / human family has had their happily ever after, only for something from one of the characters' past to reemerge and cause problems. I can't wait to get into this. I really hope it is, on one hand, both absolutely adorable and heartwarming, and on the other hand, cry-worthy, because that's just where these books tend to be for me. Because basically all of TJ Klune's books fit in the middle section of the Venn diagram of those two aspects. Hello, my beautiful loves. Welcome to the first video I'm taking on my new phone. And I have no idea if this is gonna go well, so let's keep our fingers crossed. It has actually been a hot minute since I updated you guys. I have officially started into In the Lives of Puppets by TJ Klune. How my reading was going for basically most of May meant that I continuously had to keep putting this off, and now that I've officially started into it, I am mad at past Nat for doing that. Currently, I am just over 100 pages in, and already you can see I have many tabs. I've been enjoying this immensely. It definitely is TJ Klune's writing style, which is something that just works so well for me. I have seen some people complain about the comedy in this already, saying it feels a little too try-hard, or it's almost coming across sort of cringy. I don't have that problem. Everything with this has been making me crack up. It's very entertaining. I love Nurse Ratcheted, kind of like a sociopath, but at the same time she's aware of herself, yet she's a nurse droid, so whenever something bad happens, she also like engages a empathy simulation, so she just changes so quickly and ends up almost taking on a maternal role, and I love the dichotomy of it. It's hilarious. Rambo being a socially anxious and incredibly anal vacuum cleaner is hilarious. So great, and it's such a perfect foil to Nurse Ratcheted. I love it. I do feel like I'm still getting to know our main character Vic, seeing as how everything is through his eyes. There's more of a focus on the characters around him rather than himself, but on the whole, still, I do really enjoy him also. He is a tinkerer. He really likes tinkering with things and trying to piece things back together, whereas his father is more of an inventor. And with that, one of the things I had to start tabbing was the relationship between Giovanni, his father, and Vic as a son. There have just been some very cute moments between those two already, and like I said, I'm really enjoying this. By this point, we have finally sort of met our Pinocchio character, Hap. I love how he changes the situation for everybody. It still hasn't been fully explained the extent of why his being there could possibly be a problem. I'm suspicious of things, and I am hesitantly excited.
It's also quite obvious that both Hap and Vic are having some sort of emotion reaction to the other, but they can't really figure it out. Hap, because he's an android and he doesn't really understand feelings yet, he is slowly starting to figure things out and watching all of the other people in this family interact and sort of learning from them. Whereas Vic, who is asexual, has never really had anybody there to experience these sort of feelings for. I also love how differences are discussed in this. Nurse Ratcheted comments that she has sociopathic tendencies, Rambo is a anxious little bean, Vic is asexual, and every single one of those are just handled in a way where it's like, you are who you are and we love you because of the person you are. It just perfectly encapsulates the feeling that I think TJ Klune so often puts into these books specifically. When I say these, I mean his traditionally published stories that I've read. Already, it's incredibly obvious that found family is going to be so important in this, and I'm not complaining. That makes me incredibly happy and just automatically puts me in a better mood whenever I'm reading this. Yeah, so like I said, I'm about 100 pages in and I realized I have to film an update because otherwise I'm just gonna keep pushing through this, and I'm a little worried that I'll end up nearly finishing this book without talking to y'all. And the whole point of this video was that it was more of a vlog and you were getting my thoughts as I was going, not just a full review. Otherwise I could have just put this in a wrap up. Hey y'all, so I have officially hit the halfway point into In the Lives of Puppets. As per usual with the traditionally published books by TJ Klune, this starts out a little bit slow, but in no time I am completely in love with all of the characters and invested in seeing them have a happily ever after. This book is still pretty new, and so far I have seen plenty of reviews. Many a times the negatives in those reviews come from comparing this to 𝗖cie or Under the Whispering Door, which is why I'm actively doing my best not to do so, because I want to enjoy this book on its own. I don't want to look at it in comparison to those other stories, but I do have to say I wasn't correct in who the equivalent was to Pinocchio from this family. And already that twist was a bittersweet surprise. And already by the halfway point, I have been tearing up. Now that the main plot has really been revealed, I am so incredibly engaged. I can now see that this is going to be an adventure story, and I am buckled in for the ride with this very wacky family and their absolutely ridiculous dialogue. Since we are only now really diving into the main plot of the story, I can say that pacing perhaps isn't the best, but I love that Klune really dedicates time in his stories to explore the characters first. As a character-based reader, that of course always makes me really invested. But even with that, I love the time dedicated to the characters and exploration of this world. Yes, it is technically planet Earth, but we have no idea what time period this is set in because these androids and robots are obviously so humanoid by now. And with that, the atmosphere fits it so perfectly. When we originally start, we're set in the forest, and yet there are these futuristic technologies that are surrounding us, so it's a beautiful juxtaposition between those two things, and I think Klune manages to make them work together very seamlessly. How history has been explained in this, it feels so incredibly real, but at the same time, it's thankfully far enough out that it does still have a sci-fi twist. Personally, I can't help but relate this to the Kalon from the Orville TV show. If you know, you know.
Hey, would anybody mind if I got a cat?
How would the presence of such a creature improve bridge operations?
You cuddle with it, stroke its fur. Humans bond with animals that way. Try it sometime.
Are we bonding?
A more literary reference would be that I can definitely draw some parallels between this and some of Isaac Asimov's stories that I've read, yet this fits the whimsy that I've come to expect from Klune's stories. I'm just having a phenomenal time with those. Hey y'all, so I officially finished out In the Lives of Puppets, and as you can see, I finally took off that very ugly sticker. Now she is all beautiful and shiny. Also, I'm gonna show off all these annotations because I don't know why it's so satisfying to look at like a book all annotated and marked up. Not to mention the fact that my coloring on these matches the cover perfectly, and that is so satisfying to me. In terms of actual thoughts, I do have to say, as far as the main relationship in this book goes, I really think it is more of a father-son dynamic. The romance in this just wasn't perfect for me. It didn't really win me over. I thought it was very sweet, very wholesome. It is a little bit slow burn that like
how other characters would talk about it, but once we finally saw those two become a couple, I guess I could see like the beginnings of something. I could understand like, oh, they have feelings for each other, but I wasn't really sold on like a full-blown romance. I didn't really feel the way I think I was supposed to feel by the end of this. I just wanted more from it. We had little moments that were very soft, very wholesome, very sweet, and I did tend to tab those, but not the most satisfying thing as a couple. Like I said at the beginning though, the father-son relationship in this, that got me going. That got me hard. I don't know what it is about dad stuff. Dad stuff makes me cry so easily. For example, just fun fact about me, anytime I listen to, oh shoot, what's the name of that song? It's like the finale song in Repo, and it has this line that's, "Daddy, you're the world to me." I literally will cry every single time at that line when I listen to that song. Interesting fact about me. No matter where I am, what I'm doing, I will cry at that line. Anyway, that was really off topic. I'm a little tipsy, so I'm not gonna apologize. The father-son relationship in this had my heart in a vice. The way we could see little things that linked Gio and Vic within the book, fantastic. How desperate Vic is to get his father back. How dedicated he is. The way he works to try and do everything he can so that his father will be the father he knows. It was so good, and I'll be honest, like because of that, I definitely was crying at the end of this book. I also want to talk about that unfortunately, I do think pacing was an issue in this. The start of the book does begin very slow, which is fine because it takes the time to really introduce the world and our cast of characters, but honestly, the issues I had with pacing were really highlighted whenever we hit the climax because everything happened super quickly, and it felt like a lot of that all wrapped up very fast, only for the final section of the book to then return to that very slow pace. It just felt really choppy. I still absolutely adored the found family in this. I think the atmosphere all the way through was phenomenal, and then something I really want to talk about is the fact that this book, in terms of writing style, feels a lot more similar to TJ Klune's The Green Creek series, which I absolutely adore. So I was all over that because there are certain elements of his writing in that series that we haven't seen in his two prior adult traditionally published books, and it just made some of those moments all the more powerful for me. Within the Green Creek series, he often utilizes colors as a way to tie into characters' emotions, and he did that in here. At one point, he describes a character as blue, which is obviously the sadness color. In that moment, it hit me so hard that I immediately ended up writing, no, green, 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 because green is the happiness color. Green is the color his characters mostly associate with happiness, with love. Oh my god. I don't know why it works so well on me, and along with the way he constantly ties emotions to colors, he also utilizes repetition in such a way that it makes anything he's talking about all the more of a punch in the gut. Basically, I just loved seeing the whimsy from his traditional published stories tied in with the heart-tripping writing style he does in his indie series and putting both of those together into this. It just worked so well for me, and with the main message of the story, I do think it just made it all the more heart-wrenching at the end of the book. I really, really enjoyed this, and although I did enjoy it so much, I do still have some things that unfortunately do change my rating from a 5 stars, but I would definitely say this is still a very high 4 stars. I really did enjoy it. I had such a good time reading it, and honestly, now I really want to go reread Wolfsong, which is probably a mistake. I should not do that. I mean, it was still a phenomenal read, and I highly recommend it. So in the end, no, these books were not 5 stars, but thankfully, I'm still happy with both of them. I think these are both still very enjoyable. I continue to adore each of these authors and cannot wait for whatever next books they come out with. Alright y'all, so that's it for today. Thank you so much for going to my channel. I really appreciate it. Make sure to hit like and subscribe down below. I have all my socials as well as a few ways you can support me linked in the description. I come out with videos on Monday and Friday, but until then, I hope you continue to have a terrific day. Love you, bye!